Now, if you remember, this was one that we had done at the end. We started with our complex rational expression. We learned how to multiply through by that least common denominator. And then this was like the one at the end. And this is the applying two concepts into one type of problem. All right, I've got all these negative exponents, right? Technically, I got a binomial on the top, a binomial on the bottom. But we want to take each one of these, not the coefficients, just the base and the exponent, and move it to the bottom so that we create the complex rational expression. All right, but that skill is the laws of exponents. Do you remember how to get rid of a negative exponent? Okay, so that's how they're testing two skills in one. So when I take this, I'm going to move the x to the -1 to the bottom. So I'm going to have an 8 over an x to the first one I got right first. All right, plus I'm going to keep the 8 on top. I'm going to move the y to the -1 to the bottom. Okay, same thing over here. I'm going to keep the 16 on the top. I'm going to move the x squared to the bottom, make that exponent positive, and then -9. Move the y squared to the bottom, make it a positive exponent. Okay, so I have to create the complex rational expression. All right, and I didn't make this division sign really big, but we can. We got a numerator up here, we got a denominator up here. They both have fractions in them. All right, now on this one, we will get rid of those fractions when we multiply through by the least common denominator. Okay, so least common denominator. Let's see, I'm x squared, because if I do an x squared, all my things are going to cross out here. So it's an x squared and a y squared. Okay, multiply that top by the least common denominator. And if you remember, I always put that up there in the top, so we kind of help to remember it's in the numerator, because writing it over 1 just clutters up the problem. So just kind of write it up there kind of close to the top. Okay, same thing with your x squared, y squared down there. All right, now I am going to have to distribute and distribute. Okay, I also have to distribute and distribute on the bottom. Okay, now when I do this on this step, this is when my fractions should go away. All right, so when I multiply here, we're going to kind of do this in our head. I got two x's up here. I've got one down here. So one's going to cross out. One of them will cross out. So I'll still have this 8, an x, and a y squared. So I'm going to have an 8, an x, and a y squared. That's where we want to watch me and make sure I don't make a mistake. Okay, so when I distribute here, I'm going to have one of my y's gone. I still have the 8, the x squared, and 1y. So I'm going to have an 8, the x squared, and 1y. All right, and notice both of those fractions now are gone. You multiply through by that least common denominator, the fractions go away. All right, so when I distribute here, the whole x squared goes away, which is nice. So a 16y squared, the minus stays right there. I got a little too much ink from the bleed through there. And y squareds cross out, leaves me with the x squared and the 9. Okay, now at this point, I would probably go ahead and I'm going to factor the bottom first just to see if it's going to help, which it may or may not help. Let's see. It's a difference of two squares, right? This is a perfect square. This is a perfect square. So I can do 4y and I can do 3x. I can do 4y. I can do 3x. One of them gets to be a plus, one of them gets to be a minus. Okay, now on the top, I don't know, let's go ahead and factor out. I don't think anything's going to cross out. 8, an x, and a y. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's see. So if I take all that out, I'll be left with a y. If I take the 8 out, 1x and 1y, then I'll have an x. And nothing crossed out. And that's okay. All right. They could tell you to do factored form. All right. When we did this, I think I let you stop here. And then if you factored and nothing crossed out, that was fine. You could stop there, but you could stop here. Okay. Because I kind of, by the time I factored that bottom, I kind of knew nothing was going to cross out. All right. So then you wouldn't have to necessarily finish it. All right. However, be prepared that my math lab is probably going to ask for the factored form.